Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Cradle to Cradle Products Innovation Institute's webinar, Making Positive Impact. Today, we'll focus on materials innovation in the fashion sector. My name is Stephanie Connolly, and I'm manager of Textiles and Apparel at the Institute, and will be your host for today's webinar. I'm joined by three fashion innovation leaders who will share how they have optimized and integrated chemical and material inputs, as well as circular design best practices into their product development and across their supply chains. I'm very pleased to introduce Wolford Schmidt, Managing Director, Asahi Kasei Spandex Europe GmbH, Serena Bonomi, Innovation Manager, VF International Napapijri, and Andreas Röhrich, Director of Product Development, Innovation, and Sustainability, Wolford AG. The webinar will be structured into three segments. We'll start with short panel presentations, followed by a guided panel discussion, and finally, a question and answer session. We welcome your questions during the webinar and ask that you please submit them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Kindly also indicate to whom your question should be addressed: the Institute, Wolford, Serena, or Andreas. While apparel brands and retailers face serious financial pressures that have deepened with the ongoing pandemic, the imperative to bring sustainable material innovations to market is stronger than ever. In fact, prioritizing innovation today could be the key to unlocking post-crisis growth tomorrow. A June report by McKinsey indicated that companies that innovated through the 2008 financial crisis went on to outperform the market by up to 30% post-crisis. In this time of crisis and uncertainty, the fashion industry has an unprecedented opportunity to double down on sustainable innovations that will not only define the future of fashion, but protect the health and the well-being of our planet so that we all emerge stronger in the long term. Innovation and increased sourcing of sustainable materials have been on the minds of apparel executives well before the pandemic hit. In a 2019 McKinsey report, survey respondents ranked sustainable materials at the top of their agenda, with 55% reporting their ambition to source sustainable materials for at least half of their products by 2025. And in early 2020, over 67% of sourcing executives stated that integrating more innovative and sustainable materials into their products was critical to their company's future success. And yet, designing innovative materials to be safe for humans and the environment, and then integrating them into finished products to achieve positive impact across the full life cycle is a complex undertaking. The key to achieving a safe and circular future starts with intentionally designing chemical and material inputs to prioritize human health and the environment, selecting optimized inputs for finished products based on their intended cycling pathways, and collaborating and innovating with supply chain partners using a common design language and framework. The Cradle to Cradle Certified Product Standard provides the industry with such a language through its holistic framework for designing and manufacturing products that are safe, circular, and responsibly made. As a globally recognized, science-based, and multi-attribute product standard, it provides a third-party verified assessment of material health, product circularity, clean air and climate protection, water and soil stewardship, and social fairness. It also encourages continuous improvement across these categories using the performance levels of bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. While all 5 categories are intrinsically linked and crucial for a future-proof, safe, and circular system, for the purpose of today's webinar, I'll focus specifically next on the material health and product circularity categories. Material health is a critical building block for creating safe and circular materials and products. This category ensures that chemical ingredients and materials used in products have been inventoried, screened, assessed, and optimized for human and environmental health and safety. The Cradle-to-Cradle certified material health assessment methodology helps companies identify chemicals of concern and begin the process of finding safe substitutions for their materials and products. As known toxins or potentially toxic ingredients are optimized out, materials and products are awarded higher levels of certification. In short, material health is a prerequisite for materials and products to cycle safely at their highest and most valuable channels of use and reuse. The product circularity category is comprised of 3 key pillars. Circular sourcing to ensure increased use of cycled or renewable content in products and to stimulate demand for circularly sourced materials. Circular design to ensure that products are compatible with their intended cycling pathways, either technical or biological, and that they retain their highest value as they cycle. And circular systems, which requires publicly available circularity data to inform active cycling, as well as ensure proper end-of-use handling to increase recovery rates for the next use cycle. This category helps to bridge product design and development with circular business models and their supporting systems and infrastructure. Now, with that context, I'm pleased to turn it over to our 3 company leaders to share with us how they have practically and tangibly advanced safe and circular materials and products in the fashion sector. And with that, Uwe, would you please start us off? And we will unmute you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. First, I'd like to introduce Asahi, Kasei, and Röhrich. Next slide, please. And I would like to give an overview. Next, please. So Asahi Kasei is a diversified chemical company with 3 business sectors: material, homes, and healthcare. Asahi Kasei has a turnover of about 20 billion US dollar, with worldwide around 41,000 employees. Next slide. Röhrich is a global premium stretch fiber producer with production sites in Japan, Germany, Thailand, Taiwan, and China. Röhrich is basically the secret ingredients in the modern wardrobe of today's contemporary consumer. Responsible and smart innovation belongs to our DNA, where we start from customer and consumer perspective. Quality, comfort, functionality, aesthetics, social and ethical standards, as well as environmental aspects to create added value. Our target is to provide solution for the industry. Röhrich's wardrobe, with its broad range of specialties, focus on 5 families. Röhrich Color Perfect, providing deep and brilliant color solution. Röhrich Contour, providing excellent shaping and fit. Röhrich Resistant, providing high resistancy for long-lasting textiles. Röhrich Feel Good, which delivers a measurable wellness, freshness, and comfort. And last but not least, our Röhrich EcoSmart family, with world first range of sustainable and responsible smart innovation. So next slide, please. So we started already about 10 years ago to look into sustainable solution to reduce the impact to the environment and care for our Earth. With our Röhrich EcoSmart family, we are truly world first with the most contemporary sustainable range of responsible produced premium stretch yarns that improve the eco impact, creating value for customers and consumers. Under the roof of our EcoSmart family, we are able to offer two key yarns. One is Röhrich EF, based on a pre-consumer waste recycling, following our zero waste strategy in our company, and Röhrich, our Cradle to Cradle gold level material health certified products. Cradle to Cradle gold level material health certified Röhrich is mainly produced in Germany, and we offer both. We offer solution for the technical as well as for the biological cycle. Next, please. Yeah, okay. So Röhrch's achievement of a gold level material health certificate verifies that the chemical ingredients have been inventoried, assessed, and optimized for human and environmental health and safety, for both, as I mentioned, for the technical and for the biological cycle. If we look at the biological cycle, we can offer with our Röhrich V550 the full range of elastic products, starting from 22 DTEX or 20 denier up to 1,800 DTEX. So that means all fields of application, and the same for our products which fit into the technical cycle. Next slide. Okay. Thank you very much. This is all from my side. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thanks, Ulrich. Thanks for introducing the Röhrich family to us. So speaking of Röhrich, I'd like to pass it off now to Andreas to talk a little bit more about how they're using that material and others in their collection. Andreas, I'll pass it to you.
So hello, even from my side. Thank you for the invitation, for having me here. I'm very happy to tell you a little bit about our journey on the path to the circularity. Being less bad is not good enough. I really like this because this is really bringing it on the point. What we are talking about is not doing the wrong things perfect, is really to change the way of doing things. And I hear very often that somebody is trying to do a little bit of marketing story or something, but we really have to help our planet. We have to find the right solutions. So about us, so we are present in many countries. We have our production facility here in Bregenz in Austria, and we have a daughter company in Slovenia. So we have, let's say, everything in our hand, what we are doing. We have worldwide about 1,500 employees and about 200 monobrand stores. So we are end consumer brand. Our product portfolio is, we do 50% of our turnover with so-called legwear, so tights and leggings and knee highs and socks. And the rest is divided into ready-to-wear, so bodies, dresses, lingerie, and beachwear. So the first point I want to mention is collaboration. So that is really one of the very big thing. So our journey for Cradle to Cradle started in 2013. At that time, we were thinking a lot about our future, and we as user of mainly man-made fibers, and 70% of the man-made fibers are oil-based. I was really worried at that time in 2010 how our business can survive with using raw material and after to throw it away or to burn it. And this made us starting a research for solutions available for a company like us. And then we found the cradle to cradle approach, which is a very holistic thing, and I liked it from the beginning. And then we started with the project, and the first thing we did, and this was really a good decision, is that we made a consortium out of 15 different parties. So there were suppliers from us, there were university and even research institutes. We started having bi-weekly meetings with them. We were always around 20 people. And then we set a common target where we want to go. And this whole project was led by us as we are the end consumer brand. So we had the threads in our hand at this project. So here you can see a bra and its components. Normally, bras makes men happy. Maybe I'm an exception for that. Many of my gray hair came from this product, because at that time we said we want to do a bra. We want to transform all these components, and it's quite a lot. We want to develop them for the biological cycle and even for the technical cycle. And here you see the bra. There are about 15 different components made out of 50 different materials. If you take only the wire, you have the metal, which is a blend, and you have the painting on the wire. You have the rubber cups. So you see only this little part. There are really many different things. In this project, then when we did the development, we did an assessment of about 160 chemicals we are using for dyeing, for the finishing and everything. And this was really a very big effort, and it took us really years to do this. I heard from Napapijri they were quicker. They were a little bit later, maybe a little bit having the advantage to taking things, but this really take us a very long time to do this. Then in 2018, we were very happy to launch the first product. So here you can see a legging and a pullover. This was the result of having in the beginning really a very high demand for the development with this bra, and due to this we had, let's say, at the end we had fabric on the table, which is this works for the biological cycle, for the gold certified. And here the components, we have Modal from Lenzing, which is an Austrian yarn producer. We have the Vinatur, which is a kind of polyester which is can biodegrade, and we have from my friend Uwe from Asahi Kasei, we have the Röhrich. And this was really a big thing, that we could offer a product which has nothing, let's say something green, scratchy, not elastic. So we had all the things what we deliver to our consumers. The high comfort was even in this product included. In 1 year later, in 2019, we offered then the first product in the technical cycle, which was another very big effort. And now we can say we have both certificates, so for the biological and for the technical cycle. We have for both cycles, we have products on the market, and we were able to close both cycles. So we take back the product. We have a waste management company. They do the biodegradation of the product. So this is the first, I think, in the world doing clothing which is for time being not allowed, but we are working on that. And even for the technical cycle, we have a solution, is a depolymerization, and they do new yarns with our old product. Here you see a little bit an overview. This was from this list is about 5 to 6 years old. This was is only to show you how complex this was, because at that time the yarns were not available. So there were only the raw material, let's say this kind of polyester, which biodegrades. There was the raw material, but there were no yarns. So we had to talk to all. You see on the first line on the top, you see the different producer. So we had to talk to the ribbon producer. What kind of yarn are you using? What do you need? And then we had to go through all these guys and to go through the list of the yarn. And then we had to talk to the other guys from the yarn producer, even to the Röhrich guys, to say, please produce this. And this was completely different to how normally product development guys are working. Normally you take a yarn, you knit it, or you do it and you touch it and you know it's good or not. If not, you take another one. Here you had to decide before, and then they develop, and at the end, maybe 6 months later, you find out that it will not work. So this was very complex. On the next slide, you see we had the same for the technical cycle. So this was really the same work we had to do. Then finally, I was asked by a journalist a few years ago when I did a presentation about what we are doing. After the presentation, she said to me, super, Andreas, what you did, but what is your plan? What is the future? And then I thought, oh, we never thought about this, but I thought this before, that we want to have within 5 years, so until 2025, that we really have 50% of our products in Cradle to Cradle Gold. Here you see the little blue worm is a little bit too low, but for now we have around 15 styles on the market in Cradle to Cradle in both cycles. And we are planning for Spring Summer 21, where is the first delivery in November. We will have in total 28 styles. So you see, this is really increasing, and I'm really, I think that we can achieve the target. Thank you.
Thank you, Andreas. All right, that takes us to Serena to talk more about her Napapijri series, circular series collection.
Thank you, Stephanie. And I also want to take the time to thank the Cradle Product Innovation Institute for organizing this knowledge sharing webinar. We were just mentioning before the webinar started that it's fundamental to be able to share what brands are doing, to be able to learn in a common effort towards circularity. So Napapijri is part of VF Corporation, which is the mother company of iconic outdoor brands such as the North Face, Vans, Timberland, Dickies, or Icebreaker, just to name a few. Within the VF, Napapijri is one of the European-based anchor brands. And if you go to the next slide, please, Stephanie. And in terms of positioning of the brand, Napapijri really stands in the intersection between design, sustainability, and innovation. Those three aspects come to life in every product, every collection, and they're really the criteria that we base off everything we do. Those aspects were present in the brand since the very beginning, and since the brand founding, going next slide, in 1987. The brand was created by a woman with a pioneering spirit of really merging the worlds of outdoor and apparel into a unique expression and unique products. Going to the next slide, you can also see how since 2012, actually 2015, the first launch, Napapijri has focused on innovation, and innovation that were at the beginning very focused on animal welfare, and then moving forward, focusing a lot more toward improved comfort and consumer benefits. In 2019, we launched the Circular series, which is the key product for Cradle to Cradle certification. Circular series really came from the idea of starting to work towards circularity and understanding what the main challenges of circularity design are up until today. Once we launched this product, we started also questioning, is there any certificate and is there any standard for circularity? And that's how we entered in contact with Cradle to Cradle. As Andreas mentioned, we actually had a very strict timeline of 12 months of crazy supply chain domino knowledge transformation. That's how we ended up calling the project. And the months were structured as follows. At the very beginning, we focus on knowledge transformation. We really focus on defining what the materials we wanted to focus on, the chemicals, the dyes, understanding what the supply chain and partners were, communicate with all of them and understand who were engaging in the project, as well as going physically to visit them to implement specific characteristics that we've seen previously in the material, chemical, and dyes fields. Moving forward after that, we focused on supply chain implementation. So if specific things, because we already had developed this circular series recyclable product, specific things were already working, other were completely to be changed, other were just to be implemented. So we worked on prototyping, testing, quality approval, and commercial processes, and different innovations on different levels. And this was about 5 months. So first 5 months, knowledge transformation. The second 5 months was really implementation phase. And the last 2 months, we're really focusing on achieving the certification. We managed to achieve a gold level, which I think it's really incredible considering we're talking about a jacket, which similarly, but very differently from a bra, also has tons of components inside. But those last 2 months were dedicated to verifying the bill of material, the chemicals that were used, doing general audits, as well as doing the actual application to the Cradle to Cradle Product Innovation Institute. Following this process, something that was really fundamental to happen in the knowledge sharing session was what we ended up calling co-petition. It was pretty crazy to see how we had completely competing brands managing to participate together to this meeting. And it was really fundamental. The slides that you see here is a meeting that we had where we called all the different suppliers from all around the world to join in one location here in Italy and really talk about what the goal of the brand was, what were the benefits for them, the benefits for, you know, people, the end consumer. And it was really crazy to see how once you put everything on one plate, everybody is focusing in the same direction. Everybody was interested in Cradle to Cradle. Everybody was believing that circularity is the future for all industries. And even competing brands ended up sharing sensitive information in order to be able to achieve this certification. And I think this was the biggest highlight of the project. Moving forward, as mentioned, we involved different suppliers from different tiers. We ended up having 47 suppliers from a global network from tier 1 to tier 4. So as you can imagine, the complexity behind managing all of these people and all of these companies and developing singular innovation with all of them was really, really big. But the idea behind evolving all the tiers was that all the products coming from the same supply chains can actually be certified with the gold standard. And this was great for the products that we have today, but it's even better in the perspective of developing new products for tomorrow. In fact, if we were to develop products in the future using the same suppliers, the same component, and the same approach, those would automatically also be certified gold. As you can imagine, this is a huge milestone for a brand that is also thinking about future-proofing the collection that it creates and future-proofing the certificate. Moving forward, I want to show you what the approach to the project was. So of course, the idea was to certify the Circular Series Hero product, which is the one that you see here on the slide. But we didn't want to limit to this. So if on one side, that's what we wanted to focus on, we also wanted to really work on building a transparent supply chain from this certified product. We really brainstormed upfront on all the needed components to freely expand the Circular Series families in the future. So we didn't just focus on what we can do and what we need today, but we also focus on what we do and want to do and need tomorrow. These enabled us on one side on getting the Cradle to Cradle Gold certification, and on the other side to really future-proofing the certification to enable free design and future development for the brand. Thank you.
Thank you, Serena, and thank you as well, Uwe and Andreas, for those informative presentations. This brings us to our next segment, which will be our panel discussion. But before we proceed with that, I'd like to encourage again the audience to add your questions into the Q&A box, which we will be sure to address in our audience Q&A segment. So to start off the panel discussion, I'd like to ask an opening question to all of the panelists, and I'd like to start first with Andreas and Serena. The Cradle to Cradle certified product innovations that you shared with us today were clearly designed from the start to be compatible with their intended cycling pathways. Could each of you elaborate a little further on how those upfront efforts to optimize material and chemical inputs ultimately facilitated certification at the gold level? And in particular, what were some key lessons learned that you have not already maybe shared with us in your panel presentation? Whoever would like to start. And you might need to unmute yourself, Andreas.
So I would start to answer the question. For us, a major thing I already mentioned a little bit is that really in the beginning, you have to make it much bigger than you need it at the end. So you really have to think about the last thing at the end of the process and really to create a very, very big project. If you start very small and you wanna, at the end, you have to add, you forgot somebody, you have to bring in this party and this company or this supplier, this is very difficult. I think this was a very important thing for us to know. In our case, it was a little bit more, not because we knew that, it was a bit by coincidence, I have to say, but we saw that this was very, very important. And even in the assessment of the chemicals, so we did about 160 assessments in this project in the beginning. I thought first this is ridiculous and you cannot do it, but at the end we saw really that you need it. Another key learning was that you really you need people 100% supporting this, and you need people even in development. They can change the way of thinking and how to design product. I saw that not everybody can do that, and there are people fighting for this, and they do everything, and there are people they stick to their system and they cannot change, and this you have to see and you have to react on this, otherwise you fail.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was nodding the whole time as Andrea was speaking. I think from us, even though we started from a pretty different point of view, we had a really great advantage of already having a circular product on the market. And we basically really saw Cradle to Cradle as the next elevation for our product to really bring it to the next level. But like Andrea said, the project needs to start bigger than you actually think. In our case, we started looking at how can we expand the family even before the family was almost existing. You know, we were looking into what if one day we want to do trouser, what if one day we want to do t-shirt, and really try and build an expanded supply chain to then work on circularity. Because like Andreas said, involving people in a second moment is just a lot more complex rather than having them involved up front. From our side, what was also absolutely crucial was really tapping into long-lasting relationship that we had with suppliers, which were really key for investing toward newness and innovating together with us. It was really, really important to see how it was fundamental for people to understand what Cradle to Cradle was and what was the benefit that they could have out of it for them to engage with it. The moment everybody understood what Cradle to Cradle was about, nobody said no to the project. We literally involved 47 people joined, but it took a little bit of time to educate them and make them understand what the goal and what the vision was.
Thank you, Serena. Uwe, this is a related question for you. So Andreas and Serena just shared with us, you know, how they had to engage the whole value chain, including their internal stakeholders. Could you talk a little bit about how Asahi Kasei engages with its brand customers to ensure that they select the most performant components for their for their products' intended cycling pathways?
Yeah, I think communication and partnership building is really the key if we talk about, let's say, cradle to cradle certified products or garments, textiles. Right from the beginning, we have to think about concept garments. And I think this we have to understand. With our cradle to cradle certified Röhrich stretch fibers, we are one component in a fabric or in a garment. So usually we talk about composites. I think Andreas explains that in a very nice and understandable way. So right from the beginning, we have to think about the concept. What do we want to achieve? Do we want to go into the biological cycle or into a technical cycle? With our products, we have basically no limitation, neither on the biological nor on the technical cycle. So we can support from in all fields of application, from let's say ladies pantyhose, sportswear, fashion, denim. So basically in all fields of application, we can provide the sustainable stretch solution. And for partnership, for building up partnerships, I think Wolford is a very good example. We have been sitting together about 10 years or even more than 10 years back, thinking about a cradle-to-cradle certified product which fits into the biological cycle. So it took pretty long, but at the end of the day, we were able to let's say, to finish this concept or to finish these concept garments, which are nowadays in the market. So then Andreas approached us and said, look, we have some limitation on the hard fiber side, some limitation on the components which are used in the products on the biological cycle. We need to look also in the technical cycle. And that was when we started 2 years back to look also into the technical cycle. And since this year, we have also the Cradle to Cradle Material Health Gold certificate on the technical cycle. In our production site in Germany, we are very happy to say that 90% of our products are Cradle to Cradle Material Health certified. And once again, I would like to, let's say, point out or to highlight partnership building, open communication is the key to get, let's say, as soon as possible to the final solution.
Thank you, Uwe. Maybe continuing with you, if that's okay. Could you share a little bit about how sourcing a fiber component like Röhrich that has the cradle-to-cradle gold level material health certificate reduces the overall environmental impact of a finished garment, given that it's, you know, considered obviously a smaller component in the overall finished garment?
Overall, fitting into the cradle-to-cradle concept, let's say in the biological cycle, the degradation products, they are a kind of nutrient for plants. So let's say for growing plants. And in the technical cycle, as Andreas mentioned, there is a technical recycling or a chemical recycling behind, which also means saving natural resources or basically coming from oil due to this chemical recycling. I think this is the basic of this concept. I think you explained that also very well in the beginning of your presentation.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's switch to Andreas for a few minutes. Andreas, as you've shared, Wolford sourced Röhrich and other materials and fibers to optimize the performance and the sustainability of your bodywear and hosiery products. What additional considerations had to be taken into account? Anything that you haven't shared with us so far? And more specifically, why did Wolford ultimately pursue separate cradle-to-cradle certifications for both cycles, for both the biological and technical cycle? Could you explain the strategy behind that?
Yeah, that was a pretty long process, I have to say, in the beginning, really in 2013, that we were thinking about how can we transform our product in this circularity. And as you know, or I explained, our product portfolio, we start from, let's say, 8 or 5 10-year tights, which is super thin and transparent. We go up to a woolen pullover. And really to cover this is really difficult. And we did a lot of research, and we were talking with the experts. And then we saw that really, and this was one of the reasons for going with this, that we saw that with this technical and biological cycle, if you are using these both systems, we can really cover all our products, nearly all. So it was in the beginning, but now we have, we could not cover all. We could not cover the woolen product, the flat knit woolen pullover, but this will change now in spring summer 21. So there we will launch the first woolen cradle to cradle gold certified products, even in flat knit, which is very important. What was during the process, what we have to keep in consideration. So even in the production, we had to do changings. So not only in the raw material or in the sourcing of the yarn or of the fabric. So even in production, for example, we had to change the oil for the knitting machine. So because there is always, like you explained, there is always even the water stewardship. So you are not wearing the oil in the product, for sure not, but the oil is going into the wastewater, and there was a point we had to change because of the assessment. So this was really even learnings during this that we have even in the production process we have to improve.
Great. Yeah, that makes sense. Continuing with you, Andreas, you know, it's one thing to launch products that have been designed for their intended cycling pathways, but of course it's another thing entirely to really close the loop as intended, particularly once the products are in the hands of customers. This can present challenges for many brands and retailers. So I was wondering if you could share with us what specific system challenges has Wolford encountered with this aspect, and how are you overcoming them?
Yeah, I have to say this is even for us a challenge. We are talking about, for example, lingerie, and to take the old lingerie back is starting from that point is not so easy, as there are not existing some bins where you can put it. So at the moment, or when we started with bringing the first product, we said you can bring it to our boutique, so where we have everything in our hand, but this is for sure not the solution for the end. What we are thinking is if this is really becoming big, and this is the hope, because if only Wolford is doing this and maybe Napapijri are doing this, they are bigger than us, but this will not help our planet. So this has to be really a concept many brands should take, and then it's better to organize together a take-back system. Due to the coronavirus, we stopped taking back, of course, to protect even our people in the store, because we are talking about first layer product, what we are producing, tights and lingerie. And so we stopped at that time. I mean, our stores were closed, as many others too. And now I just had a conversation with our marketing director, and they are at the moment working on a new concept, even to think about to give a bonus to the end consumer. If you buy a new product, you get a discount or something like this. I think in general is a big opportunity because in retail business is a big problem, the frequency. So you do not get people into the store. If you have this to bring it back and to get in conversation and to involve the consumer, the end consumer, into what you are doing, I think is a good thing. And you can communicate something, you can tell a story, and you can even give them the feeling to do something good. And I think this has to be the concept where we have to strive for.
Well said, Andreas. And Serena, I know that this is a subject that's near and dear to your heart as well, and Napapijri's. Could you talk a little bit about how the unique design of the Circular Series jackets has impacted your brand strategy and your positioning, and also how Napapijri is educating customers and your stakeholders on the benefits of circularity?
Yes, sure. And meanwhile, as Andrea was speaking about a common brand take back program, I was clapping in the background. But yeah, absolutely. So in terms of how it impacted the brand, honestly, circularity really sits at the center of design, sustainability, innovation, which we saw earlier that are key pillars for the brand. All fields really need to be challenged, rethought, and explored for circularity. You cannot only think about sustainability, you cannot only think about innovation. Everything needs to be involved because you really need to think about holistically a new way to create and develop the product. On our side, for sure, we had to rethink the development process as well as the garment design, because in our case with the Circular Series, we decided to go down the monomaterial route, which is not necessarily the only solution for circularity at all. And I think other brands are proving that. But in our case, as we started to develop Circular Series, we were really looking into how can we make this product easy to recycle. And as we look into that, we opened up either the direction of easy to disassemble or monomaterial to be the best solutions. We ended up with monomaterial, but there's also other opportunities. In terms of education, I think this is a really interesting question, because we could see from experiences internally that most of the time, the lack of information is what really creates people not to understand a project. So we had to do a lot of education internally, even before going to the consumer. And as we launched the first Circular Series jacket last year, we still are working constantly on, training our staff and training our marketing team and design team and product development team of what does it mean to think about circularity and what type of challenges you have, because they're quite different from normal product development. On top of it, other type of project that we're working on is, and this was actually an output from the circular training that was done to the designer, was to develop a zero waste lay plan, which I think was also very interesting, how we started with this monomaterial and now it's expanding into further bigger projects. So yeah, for sure, the next challenge that we have now is really educating the consumer on understanding why a monomaterial product is a circular product, what's the difference between recycled and recyclable, and what does it mean for specific materials to be used. As an example, the synthetic, with all the limitation and all the big challenge that they bring, at the moment, in certain cases, they're the easiest one to recycle. And that's, I think, it's a huge part of education that we really need to work on for the next few years.
Well, and thank you for the efforts that you've all been putting into this across the board, from the development of a material and all the chemical inputs and to the end product and the systems behind cycling it. I'm going to move now into our Q&A segment. Let's see what we have. So I will. Let's see. I'll direct this to Andreas, if that's okay, Andreas. So we have a question here about, are you still using polyester in your collection? And are you using only recycled?
So to the question for the polyester, yes, we are using a type, a modified polyester, which is modified so it can biodegrade within, I think, is 6 to 8 months, which is still long, but much shorter than all other polyester. And it has another big, is better than other polyester because there is no antimony inside, and this is forbidden for the cradle to cradle standard. And so yes, we are using, but we are using a different type.
Thank you. Thank you, Andreas. Uwe, I have a question for you from the audience. How do you recover back the ROICA for the technical cycle currently? And you have to unmute it, Uwe. Sorry.
No? Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, let's say, basically, if we look into the textiles, usually we talk about concepts or concept garments. No? So either fitting to the technical cycle or biological cycle. So, and as Andreas mentioned, there are solutions to do a chemical recycling, let's say blends in polyamide with our ROICA suitable for the technical cycle, or with the polyester in blend with our ROICA fitting into the technical cycle. But as Andreas mentioned, I think if we talk about the technical cycle, it's important that we have a kind of joint collection. I think this cannot be done through one party or through one brand. And on the biological cycle, it's pretty easy. I mean, if we have a concept garment which fits into the biological cycle, this product would degrade and would act, let's say, as a nutrient for plants.
Thank you, Uwe. This question is for either Serena or Andreas. What was the key argument to convince the whole supply chain to become a partner in this project in your respective certification projects? I don't know if there's a key argument. You've shared a few of your strategies with us already, but was there anything specific that you could share out with the audience?
Yeah, I'll take this. This is funny. Yeah, absolutely. Multiple strategies, I would say, rather than a key argument. For sure, showcasing the brand vision and the brand interest on the long term, not just making them think this is a one-off product and then we're done. But really showcasing the type of investment that the brand was putting behind the project really, really helped. In our case, we were fortunate enough that, like mentioned before, we already had the Circular Series product. So we already showed that in the previous 3 years, we have already been working on circularity. So it was just kind of the next step from that. And on top of it, like mentioned before, the long time partnership was really key, because working in innovation, you'll see it multiple times. People tend to be a little bit, reject the ideas, reject the goals that you have. But if you prove you have a track record of success proven from the past experiences, then they're also more likely to believe and invest in the brand. So I would say it's a mixture of all of these factors. For sure, also really bringing them physically together and appealing to their human side and making them understand this is really better, not just for the industry, not just for the garment that we're putting out, but it's also better moving forward. It sets a standard for everybody else to follow. That really helped them to also become, the first ambassadors of this new program, and to be really proud. And we've seen this when we launched the news a couple of weeks ago, that they all reshared the information on their channels. They're all creating their own press releases as well. So you can see that the engagement is also going beyond just supporting the brand. It's something that they really believe in now.
All right, great. Thank you, Serena. Just a follow-up question before we ask everyone a closing question. On the heels of that, and this could be for anyone, I mean, what kind of convincing was needed with the general management of your respective companies to engage in circular economy, to engage in all of the work that clearly went into the efforts to achieve certification? It's one thing, obviously, to convince your, to build awareness with your customers, but how did you get general management engaged. I don't know if anyone is welcome to take that.
Maybe I can answer because it took us so long. There were several changes even in the management. So I had in this time there were 3 different CEOs in our company. So, and you can imagine to convince every time to tell them that maybe in 5 or 7 years a little bit of the money will come back is not so easy. But this is really key, and I would say due to my position, so I'm responsible for the product development, for the purchasing of the textile material, and even for the quality. So these are all the parties you need really on the table, and you have to be convinced. What was a big advantage for us, I have to say, our project was supported by the government. So we have we get money for research and development. If you make a project like this, then you get money, and then it's a little bit easier. And but I have to say that we had always in the management, we had people understanding what we are doing and believing in that this will really bring this brand forward. And this is really important, because otherwise, if you need for every cent, you need the okay, and then you cannot do it. So that is really important. And this you have always to start from top down. Otherwise, if there are a few development people doing something and trying to bring this up, it will not work. And I had this conversation several times, so that somebody said to me from our management, we are not a green brand. So I said, yes, of course, we are not a green brand, but we should be a good brand. And I think this should be the conversation, to being good or bad, not to be green or something like this. I think this is the anchor you have to take. And for me personally, this topic of sustainability and even cradle to cradle and other things can be really a reason for surviving for a company like us. So this is really something, if we are able to transform that, to communicate it. But even this is difficult, because our marketing, for example, they are used to talk about fashion shows, about color, about trends, but they are not used to talk about composting, for example. So this is something completely new for them, and this they have to learn, even like we had to learn in the development to go new ways. Even they have to do it. So this is really key.
Yeah. All very important points. Serena, did you have something to add there?
Yes, I also wanted to jump in to share how for us it was a different and similar experience at the same time. Absolutely agree with, even the marketing team needs to learn how not only cradle to cradle works, but also how to communicate it in a different way, because they need to talk about different things. In our case, we were fortunate enough that VF is already investing, our mother company is already investing in circularity since a few years. And so we had the advantage that as we developed already the circular product, cradle to cradle kind of came as the next step. I think in terms of also gathering momentum from, the senior leadership teams and the senior management in the company as well, it's fundamental to have a long-term strategy and to showcase that it's not just a one-off, but it's something that it's meant to last. And then it's linking to the key brand standpoints, like in our case, innovation, sustainability, and design. So for us, even if it was easier, let's say, to get the green lights to go, and that really enabled the project to basically fast track, it was then a lot more complex, maybe once we scale down, to educate people and to make people understand what was really the benefit of something like this.
Great. Yes, over.
So we made a little different experience. In our case, let's say it is a basic philosophy of Asahi Kasei to contribute for life and living and to care for our earth. So that was the reason why we started to develop, let's say, a kind of recyclable elastane, far more than 10 years back, and also circularity, looking into a biological cycle. I think we started also more than 10 years back. Maybe we have been a bit too early, because that was far before the trend of sustainability started. But on the other hand, we had also time to further develop our products and to build up the partnership, the relationship and the partnership with our direct customers and with the brands.
Right. This has been such a great conversation. I hate to cut us off. We're actually already at time. So I am going to end it there. Any questions that were not answered during today's webinar, we will follow up with those of you who've posed them directly. I'd like to give a very warm thank you to our speakers, Uwe, Serena, and Andreas, as well as to our very engaged audience today. The webinar recording will be sent to you, those of you who've registered, in a follow-up email in the coming days, and it will also be available on demand on our website. Thank you all for your time today and your engagement. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.